Welcome to Java EE6 webinar series from jpassion.com. Today we are going to cover second part of JPA 2.0 features. I assume most of you have some JPA knowledge. In fact, this Java EE6 course assumes you have Java EE knowledge on, for example, servlet, JPA, EJB, and things like that. All right, so let's get with the presentation. So we're going to focus on two major topics in this presentation. One is criteria API, and the other one is locking. On criteria API, we are going to cover three different subtopics. Very simple criteria API using just single entity, and then we are going to see how we can use criteria API using relationship, actually, with the related tables and entities. And then we are going to see how we are going to use what is called the meta model. And then for locking, we are going to look into optimistic locking and pessimistic locking. So let's start with criteria API with a single entity. So criteria API has been very popular for Hibernate developers because it allows you to create a query using Java code rather than string-based JPQL. So you can write every query in Java code, and so that is provides a convenience. For example, in Hibernate, you can create an object, Java object that represent the query, the string basically. So it's actually to complement JPQL in JPA. And unlike Hibernate, however, JPA 2.0 also provides extra features called the meta model. So meta model actually provides compile time type checking using generics. So every entity X will have a corresponding meta model class called X and underscore. And then you can actually use the criteria API on these meta model classes. We'll see examples of that moving forward. So let's see an example. Here we are going to perform. So this is JPQL based query operation. So here you are going to select E from employee E, meaning you want to get all the records from employee table. Now, instead of using JPQL like this, you can use criteria API. So first, you're going to get criteria builder object from entity manager. And then you're going to create criteria query object. In this case, you're going to use employee generics type. And then you're going to specify kind of table, which table that you want to actually use as a starting point. So you're going to call from method, providing employee class, and you get the root object. And then you're going to call criteria.select, passing this employee object. And then you are going to then you are going to create the query, passing the criteria, and then you're going to call get result list. And then this method will perform query operation, and then you get the results back. This is where you can use where method. So you can certainly create criteria object using where method as well. So here we like to make sure we would like to have where clause sort of where the name is sanctioned here. Okay. And you can also use order by. So criteria.order by, and then here the name, the order is based on name, ascending order, and you can also specify descending order on salary. So basically, the point of criteria API is using Java API for performing JPQL-like query operation. All right, so let's start our first exercise on criteria API. So we are going to take a look at the where clause-based criteria API application. It's assumed that you are already started, you have already started Java DB, and we are again using testDB JPA2 database. So we have already started testDB JPA2. And from that point on, you can use either NetBeans or Eclipse because all projects are Maven project. Okay, so I'm right now running NetBeans. Later on, I'm going to actually run it in Eclipse as well. All right, so I am going to go to project here. And the first project I like to try is criteria where. Okay, so let's run this application. And it's very simple. Well, actually, we'll take a look at the code. It's basically performing various, this is the set of table. This is a table, the employee table that we are going to actually use for performing various query operations. Okay, so we'll take a look at the code using lab documentation. So these are the results we just have seen. So this is a case. So here we are going to again criteria. Yeah. So here basically the documentation shows you this is how you're going to perform JPQL operations. So here you're going to create the string object that contains a select statement and then perform JPQL. And now you are going to perform the same thing of this using criteria API. So examples basically show JPQL example and then criteria example. Okay, so the red colored version is the criteria based example. So here again we create the criteria builder object, and then we create the criteria query object, and then we get the root object, and then build the criteria, and then we perform first of all, we have to create the query object here. So it's actually typed query. So you can actually have this single line with these two lines. Okay. So it creates the typed query object, and then it calls the get result list method, and then you get the result set. Okay. And then we just display it. So this is the very simple. This is basically reflecting this guy. Select E from employee. So we display everything. That's what you actually see here. So yes, this is the case we are using JPQL, and this is the case that we are using criteria API. So you basically see same result, one from JPQL and the other one from criteria API. Okay, so let's look into the second one. So here basically we are performing the select statement with where clause. The name is sanction. Okay, so here this is the difference between the first example and second example. So here we added the where clause to the criteria API. Okay, so here we have only one person. That's the reason we got just employee number one and sanction. And third case is here we have this case. So we have a where clause where the name is sanctioned, and then we have or, and salary is also greater than 7,000. Okay, so here we are using the criteria builder dot or, and then we have this name and then greater. So we basically add this one and then wrap this to with this or. Okay, so that's basically the same thing of this. Okay, so that is yeah. So we have two people, Bill Clinton and Sanction, who's so yeah. So Sanction is just name, and then salary. Anybody whose salary is greater than 7,000, we have Bill Clinton. He's making $8,000. Okay. All right, so the next one is here. We are just using like the pattern. Okay, so same thing you can do. So you can use like method of a criteria builder object. Okay, so here so result is this. Okay, anybody whose names start with A. So we have two people, Angela and then Annie. And next one is, yeah, so here we are basically saying the name has to be in one of these three names. Okay, so Sanction, Bill Clinton, and some name. and we have just two people, Bill Clinton and Sanction. Okay. All right. So pretty simple. The uh, the uh, the examples, and you can certainly take a look at the criteria query Java documentation to find more information about how to use it. The next one is order by. So let's try order by. This one. Let's run the application. So result is, again, this is a table. And then we have, again, this is using JPQL. So here, we like to display all the employees where salary is greater than 4,000. And then we want to display the result order by. First, e-name, name first, ascending order, and salary descending order. So name, you can see the name is in ascending order, and then in terms of salary, it's in descending order. Okay, and then we are going to actually do the same thing using criteria API. So same result. Okay, so let's take a look at the code. So this is based on JPQL, and here again we just add order by the logic. Okay, so this is ascending order and this is descending order. Okay, so that's exercise 1. So let's move on to exercise the topic 2. So criteria API with relationship. So far we have worked with just a single entity and single table. Now we are going to work with multiple tables which are the related. Okay, so here you can use basically again this is the JPQL. So here what we want to do is that we like to get all the customers whose discount rate is greater than 10. Okay, so we retrieve all customers whose discount rate is bigger than 10, and discount table, discount code table, and the customer table are related. Okay, so here basically you can, I mean, this is actually very nice. You can just say customer.get and discount code and then call the get method. So it's a little bit more intuitive in using Java code. So we traverse to discount code table and get the rate. And you can also use the join the object. So here you are going to be able to use join method. Production collection is actually from the manufacturing. So this is actually manufacturer class has a product. So one manufacturer has many products, and product collection is one of the fields that represent the collection of products. And then we can create a join manufacturer and product object, and then you can call get method from this join object. Okay. So here basically retrieve all manufacturers who have products whose markups are greater than 20. Okay. So here we call p get markup and s and then change it to integer value and compare. All right, so let's do exercise 2. So here we are going to try criteria relation traversal. So that is the same code that we have seen from the example. Okay, so here, okay, so I'm not sure why this is not being displayed. You have to check the code. So here, this is using JPQL. And here we are going to use criteria API, and again, same result. Okay, so select all customers whose discount code rate is greater than whose discount rate is greater than 10%. Okay, so you can see all customers' discount rate is greater than 10. All right, so let's see the code. So again, this is JPQL example, and here we are using criteria API where we are basically chaining the traverse, the discount code table from customer. Okay. All right, so that's what we have seen. The next one is a relation inner join. So let's take a look at that. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's run this code. Yeah, so just to show that you can actually run the same thing from Eclipse. I'm gonna try from Eclipse. So this is the code, and I'm going to run as Java application, and my package is the main class. Okay, so this is the result. So yeah, so this is using JPQL. Okay, and this is the result of using criteria API. So basically, select all manufacturers whose product collection where the markup is actually the greater than 20. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use a lab documentation to see the code. Okay, so display all manufacturers who have products whose markups are greater than 20. So here we use join the object, and again we are using the get method of markup from this the join object. Okay. All right, so moving forward, next topic is criteria API using metamodel. So the reason you might want to use metamodel is metamodel provides a compile time type checking using generics. So as we talked about in the beginning of the presentation, the metamodel, in a metamodel scheme, every entity X has a corresponding metamodel class X underscore. And you can manually generate this X underscore class yourself, or you can automatically generate it either using Maven or using an IDE. Both Eclipse and the NetBeans and other IDs provides a way of creating this metamodel class from entity class. In our exercise, we are going to just use the Maven to generate this metamodel class. And then criteria API is going to work on this metamodel. So this is this is a metamodel class. So again, we have employee entity class, and then you're going to have employee underscore metamodel class. Again, you can generate manually, or you can generate automatically using Maven or from the IDE. So here, let's take a look at the code. So instead of using employee class, you're going to use employee underscore metamodel class. Okay. So idea is that this metamodel class of name should be string type. So if you actually provide the like an integer value, then it should actually generate a compile error. So this is a case that you are not using the metamodel, and this is a case that you're using metamodel. So when you're not using metamodel, you still actually deal with a string, right? So this string does not actually provide a compile time error, but if you're using this class, it will actually provide a compile time type checking errors. Okay, so again, usage of metamodel enables you to do type checking during compile time rather than runtime. So this is the corresponding employee metamodel class. Okay, so here, employee underscore, and you can see it has employee integer type, and this one has to be string type, and this one type has to be long type. Okay, so salary has to be long type, and name has to be string type, and ID has to be integer type. All right, so let's do criteria API with a metamodel. So what we are going to do is we are going to actually try manual metamodel generation first. So here what we have is that we have generated, if you take a look at this one, we manually generated employee underscore metamodel class ourselves. Okay, so meaning you manually code this code. It's not that difficult for simple class like that, but for complex class, then you might want to actually have IDE or Maven to generate. Here it's pretty simple, so we actually create it ourselves. Okay, now when we run the code, let's see what happens. So basically, it performs pretty similar. The